Hello, Shining Light. Today I want to talk about anxiety. It is something that I experienced for years in my life, and I know there are a lot of people experiencing anxiety right now due to the current climate and state of affairs, and that often it's just going to happen. So, anxiety is triggered by our sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight. You've heard me speak about this before. Our parasympathetic system is the rest and relax. The sympathetic system, although it is great to save us and to help us kick it in gear when we really need that extra oomph to run or to get ourselves out of dangerous situations, we do not want to be in the sympathetic nervous system for long because that is where we get illnesses and that's how we just die quicker. So, we're trying to stay alive here, people. So, what is anxiety? If you've never experienced, you have led a very wonderfully blessed and sheltered life. However, most of us have at least experienced this fear or worry, a nervousness about something that is uncertain in the future. And while occasional stress, maybe even anxiety is normal and it's okay, prolonged anxiety and stress can lead to anxiety disorders, which can be crippling. And people who have this aren't able to function or go to work or take care of their family. And a lot of times, anxiety and depression go hand in hand. So, if this sounds like you, if you've been anxious and you want to know more about anxiety, well, stay tuned and let's jump right in. If you are new to my channel, we talk about all things health and wellness, alleviating anxiety and depression so that we can be free to create our very best life. So today we're talking about something that I am very acquainted with, which is anxiety. And luckily, just through hard work and just being diligent, I don't have any anxiety, and I had it for years. So just so that you know, you can heal from it if you're in the middle of it, or you're in the middle of a situation where it doesn't seem like you're going to make your way out. You're going to get to the point if you stay true to your spiritual path. If you practice some of the tips that I'm going to give you, sooner or later, you're going to get to the point where you can have just the world crumbling around you and you're going to stay centered. You're going to stay healthy. You're going to stay grounded and you're going to have the strength to persevere. So, common symptoms of anxiety for those who haven't had it, but you may not know some of these symptoms, but excessive worrying about things that may not have even happened. You could be worrying about a current situation, but you're worrying about you're in the future. You know that saying, the past is where you find depression. Anxiety is in the future. So you always want to be in the present so that you're centered and grounded and happy. So when you are anxious, you are always in the future. And you're thinking about, what can I do? What happens next? There's a restlessness, a feeling of being on edge, muscle tension, difficulty sleeping, rapid heartbeat. You know those people you see in the movies, they start hyperventilating and they need the bag and all of that. That is caused from high anxiety and stress. Trouble concentrating. If you ever been just so stressed out where you're like, I can't function, I can't think, because whatever's going on with me is completely taking control of me. And this is when you get the spiraling out of control. That is a symptom of anxiety. Now, that's just some of the symptoms that people may not even notice. If you're like me and I go internal, if something's going on with me, I shut down, I get really quiet, I crawl off to die. That may be a generational thing. It might be a boomer or an X thing. It might even be a millennial thing where it's like you don't just put all of your emotions out on your sleeve. If you've got stuff going on, some people may not even know you're going through stuff because you're just reserved and you've learned to adapt and just keep your anxiety inside. Unfortunately, if you are like that, if you've experienced that anxiety comes out in other ways. So, what are those other ways that people may not notice? Well, pulling out your hair. Some people pull out their eyelashes. They'll just constantly this type of thing, or pulling and plucking, chewing your fingernails. And I don't mean just biting and biting down to the quick. I'm talking drawing blood. You don't even notice. Picking at scars, at scratches, at blemishes, excessive fidgeting, leg kicking, and that sort of thing. And some people are like, oh, well, that's just, I just like to move. And I'm like, no, you're anxious. That you should be able to sit still and calmly. And if you can't do that, you've either had way too much coffee or you are experiencing a form of anxiety. Other things. For me, because I internalized everything, I would have digestive issues, sluggish bowels, gastritis, nausea, constipation, or the other thing. You can't hold it in. It's coming out one way or the other, or both, okay? Excessive breakouts on your skin. Your skin is the biggest organ on your body, and it's going to react first when you're having a reaction to something, and a lot of times that triggers histamine in your body, which causes hives and rashes. We're talking inflammation and bloating. Anxiety can kill you. That's why people have strokes and heart attacks. When you have some people, who are workaholics and they're constantly going and in the thick of things, and they've gotten to a point in their life that they absolutely love it. That is not good for you. It causes high blood pressure. So anxiety is a killer, okay? And like I said, you may or may not see it because everyone is going to manage and handle their anxiety differently. So I'll tell you about my experience. My experience started like around age 5. My life at the time was uncertain. I was staying with my grandparents and separated from my mother, and my blood pressure had gotten so high that I had moved into hypertensive crisis that they were going to hospitalize me. But the doctor said that would probably make me worse. So they kept me at home. I had to be on, I remember, it was like the worst diet ever. My people season our food and I couldn't have any salt. I couldn't have any salt on my food, and my grandmother could cook, okay? She could cook, and I had the most bland, it was awful. And there were certain candies that I couldn't eat, and I just remember that just being it was horrible, okay? So it started so early for me. It moved on to chewing, chewing my nails. I was biting my nails down. From there, before I was even 15, I got diagnosed. I started having stomach problems. Always had stomach problems. My grandmother was constantly giving me the nasty stuff: milk of magnesia, Pepto-Bismol, Castoria, castor oil, all the nasty stuff. And it's because I was having sluggishness. My bowels weren't moving, and that's not good as a child, right? So it took me to a doctor. Come to find out, I had ulcers. At age 15, I was diagnosed with ulcers. So fast forward, I'm going through my teens and my 20s, and I think I was doing relatively well. I thought I was managing, relatively well during that period. But there was always something that I was anxious about. And a couple of times I had to go home from work because of crippling cramps in my stomach and just being nauseated. And it wasn't until I got into corporate and I was going through a particularly horrible and stressful time at this company. And when I would get off the elevator in the morning and I would just smell the floor, just the smell just would make me cringe. And the idea of walking in and having to sit there for 8 hours and just deal, it was almost more that I could deal with. But you know what I did? I smiled. I internalized it until it sent me to the hospital a couple times. So don't be like me, okay? I'm telling you these stories because it's like I said, I have been there. And everyone is different. Some people, they are just gonna be just like, they're gonna be the pullers. They're gonna be, you've been around that person whose energy is so off the charts that you're just like, please go sit down. Please get away from me. That person has anxiety and they may not have a coping mechanism or any kind of way to deal with it. And those are the people who are, outwardly going, I need help. They may, come across as, they may not even come across like they have their shit together. I mean, there's been so many times where I haven't had mine together. But like I said, every person is different. But either way, no matter how you're handling with it, anxiety over prolonged time is not good. So what causes anxiety? So it can be a variety of factors that can trigger your anxiety. Stressful life events, health concerns, any trauma or unresolved trauma. It can be in your genetics and family history. It could just be your family environment. It could be a chemical imbalance in your brain. Now, there's nothing you can do about the chemical imbalances in your brain. I'm gonna switch that because you've heard me say before, when you are given something through genetics, there may not be something that you think you can't do because this is what you're given. But you have to try everything in your power to heal yourself so that you don't have to just accept that this is what I am given and therefore this is how I should be. Again, we want to liberate ourselves, free ourselves from the shackles of the past. So therefore you should not walk in your neurotic uncle's shoes, or even if your mom was just a mess who drank martinis and took Valium all the time to stay chill. That does not have to be you. So, through exercise, through meditation, through eating right, through being around like-minded people, staying away from toxic people, journaling, deep breathing exercises. When we are anxious, we hold our breath. We're breathing up here in the chest, and we don't ever want to breathe up here. This is where the hyperventilation comes from. We want to breathe deep down into our bellies. And with yoga, that's where, pranayama comes from. If you haven't, check out my videos. I have mindful meditation videos as well as my box breathing video, which I plan on doing an update on that one. It's been a while since I've done a breathing exercise video, but you have to learn how to breathe. And you don't even notice that you're breathing in your chest when you're anxious all the time. But it's when you start to heal, you begin to breathe from deep down in your belly. And that is when we are in our parasympathetic system. And we are in our rest and relax. And that is how we want to be all the time until it's time to run. Okay? And I mean run away from danger, not just like you need to go on a jog. You know what I mean. When you're on the jog and you see a bear, then you really need to tap into your sympathetic nervous system to get on down the road, right? So, when there are holistic means for dealing with anxiety, but like I've said before, if you have a hormonal imbalance, and there is you've tried holistic means and they aren't working. If you are already in crisis mode, if you are already feeling crippled, then I suggest that you go seek help. I suggest that you go see either a therapist, a support group, someone that you can talk to, and if you need to, get on medication. Okay. Now, I say this every time, and I'm going to keep saying it. If you get on medication, the medication should be used to reset your brain and your system. It is not for the long haul. You don't want to be on something for the rest of your life. You want to gradually use whatever it is, this tool that you've been given, and then wean yourself off of that by following, check out Chinese medicine. Check out an Ayurvedic specialist. Some holistic is best, but when you can't do holistic, it is okay. You're not letting the world down if you need to get on medication. However, know what you're taking and research, okay? Research whatever drug that they're going to give you. Make sure you're not being a guinea pig. Oh, this week is something new. This week is something new, because you're going to mess your system up. So just be patient and give it time. And, like I said, just for the short term, use medication. So what have we learned about anxiety? So it's natural and it's okay to have it. However, through exercise, through eating fresh fruits and vegetables, drinking plenty of water, being kind to yourself, journaling, taking time for yourself. You want to have that date once a week. I'm a firm believer. Go take a date. You need quiet. You need 10 minutes a day to yourself for meditation or longer. Okay, at least 10 minutes where no one can mess with you about anything to get your stuff together. Okay, mindfulness meditation. It's just the act of sitting there quietly, connecting to your breath and doing a check-in with yourself. And we're so busy on social media these days and listening to the news and absorbing all of this out in the world, which is causing you anxiety, instead of going internal and listening to what the highest is telling you, listening to your own internal intuition, your own God-given healing strength. Instead of tapping into that, you're going to use these distractions which are causing you anxiety. So get off of social media if it's causing you stress. Get off the news if it's causing you stress. Take a 30-day detox and just completely just stay off of social media. And unless it's part of your job, and even then, get on there, give yourself a limit of like maybe an hour a day to do your business, okay? But try to limit your exposure to all of these influences that are causing you stress. Now, if it's family causing you anxiety, well, that's something that you're going to have to make some pretty hard decisions about. If it's your marriage, I mean, there are things that you have to make a choice about. Are you going to continue to be stressed out and miserable? Are you going to kill yourself with causing yourself sickness and being depressed and anxious? Or are you going to do something about it? Find support. There are plenty of support groups, a trusted friend for you to talk to. So and just like me, it doesn't matter how long. It could take you a couple months. It could take you some years. It could take you longer. But as long as you commit to your healing journey, there's nothing that you can't overcome. And soon anxiety will be a thing of the past and you can be happy, healthy, and blessed. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If it has been helpful, please give me a thumbs up so that I can get this message out to the world to help others heal and to support the community of like-minded individuals. Be well, be blessed, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, thank you, thank you.